I was just another courier on a Tuesday morning, weaving through the crowded streets of the city, balancing a package in my hands, thinking about nothing more than getting it delivered on time. Crowds moved like rivers around me. Faces blurred, engines roared, and alarms echoed somewhere in the distance. I had done this route hundreds of times, and the familiarity had a comforting rhythm. But comfort was a lie, a fleeting shadow, because in one heartbeat, my entire life shattered. The first sharp pang hit in my chest, sudden and burning, like molten iron had been poured into my ribcage. I doubled over, the package tumbling from my hands. My legs buckled. Confused shouts filled the plaza. I couldn't breathe. Not because of panic. My lungs were fine. But something deeper, something primal clawed through my body, twisting my muscles and bones, turning me inside out. And then I felt it. The gland. My gland. Something I had been told I didn't have. Something every doctor and scan confirmed absent, now flaring to life with merciless intensity. My body was betraying me, rewriting the biology I had trusted for 23 years. I gasped, trembling, my hands clutching my stomach as heat surged through me, wild and uncontrollable. And then I smelled it. Not my own scent. Something else. Something dangerous. My pheromones, raw and potent, shot into the air. I didn't know how I knew, but I knew. Alphas around me staggered, their bodies faltering as if struck. Glass shattered from nearby windows, screams pierced the chaos, and the plaza descended into panic. People scattered. My vision swam. I tried to tell myself I was a beta. I had always been a beta. No scent, no heat, no gland. Nothing that could explain this. But the trembling of my body, the way my heart slammed against my chest said otherwise. And then someone shouted, horror-struck, "This beta is in heat? How the hell is a beta in heat?" I couldn't answer. I couldn't think. My mind kept returning to the same impossible conclusion. I was an omega. A null omega. The forbidden subgender my society claimed no longer existed. A crime, just by being alive. And then he appeared. Rice Calderon, captain of the Anti-Pheromone Crimes Bureau. Everything about him screamed authority and danger, from the taut lines of his jaw to the calculating cold in his eyes. He moved toward me with precision, cutting through the chaos like a blade, ignoring the panicked crowd. The moment he reached me, I braced myself. A beta should be ignored. An omega in heat? A target. But he didn't falter. His hand was on my shoulder before I realized I wanted him there. His touch, solid and grounding, drew a strange heat into me. Not the burn of my own heat, but a resonance. He stiffened instantly, his body reacting as mine flared. I watched the disbelief cross his face, fleeting but sharp. "This should be medically impossible," he said, his voice low, almost strangled by something he didn't want to admit. "You're reacting to me, and I'm reacting to you." I wanted to argue. I wanted to scream that I was a beta, that everything about me had always been normal. But the truth was undeniable. My body, my instincts were screaming otherwise. We had no time for words. Alphas were regaining their footing. Security forces were swarming. I had never felt fear like this before, not for my life, but for the truth of my existence. And he was here, standing beside me, offering something I didn't understand. Not just protection, but grounding. "Can you walk?" he asked, voice firm, commanding. I nodded, barely, my legs still weak, trembling. "Good. Stay close." And just like that, he guided me away from the crowd, away from the eyes, the judgments, the alarms. My chest heaved, my heat flaring intermittently, as if my body knew it could not be hidden for long. His hand remained on my back, guiding, steadying, and the magnetic pull between us was undeniable, suffocating. It wasn't love, not yet. It was raw, primal, urgent attraction, something that set my nerves ablaze and made my pulse race in a way I couldn't control. We didn't speak. Words felt impossible, irrelevant. Every glance, every brush of skin sent shivers through me. I had no idea what was happening to me, only that the world I knew had ended. We turned down a narrow alley, the chaos fading behind us. My body sagged against the wall, heat lapping at my senses. "You're burning," he murmured, almost to himself. "You need a place to—" I didn't wait to hear more. Exhaustion, panic, and the unrelenting pull of my body drove me to nod. Any place, anywhere, as long as it was safe. And he led me to his house. The door closed behind us, a barrier between the chaos of the city and the volatile truth of my body. Here I could finally breathe. Here I could collapse without shame. Here my heat could rise without consequence. He stayed close, not touching unnecessarily, but close enough that his presence steadied me. He brought water, let me drink slowly, and spoke quietly, asking if I could tolerate sitting up, moving to the couch. I nodded, words failing me. Time passed in a strange limbo. My body's heat surged, my pheromones pulsed, and I realized with an icy clarity that there was no hiding this, no controlling it. My body demanded release, and with it came the undeniable fact. My first heat could not be survived alone. He didn't hesitate. The shift in his demeanor was subtle but undeniable. His alpha instincts, usually suppressed, responded to me in ways that sent shivers down my spine. The pull, the need, the raw magnetism, it was too much, and yet controlled, deliberate, aware. And then finally, he touched me differently. Not a casual hand on the shoulder, not a guiding touch. Something intentional, deliberate, drawing me toward him. I didn't resist. My body, my mind, my very core wanted this. The night that followed was not about love. It was about survival, about instinct, about the heat that had awakened me and the pull I could not deny. It was about Rice and me, alone in a private space, away from judgment and eyes, and finally, I gave myself to him. I didn't expect what followed. Morning brought more than just light, it brought clarity. My body, trembling from the night, showed the first signs. I was pregnant. Rice didn't leave me. He stayed, helping me move, feeding me, guiding me as my heat slowly waned, but the new reality set in. We couldn't speak of love yet. There was only care, concern, and the silent acknowledgement that everything had changed. My world, my identity, my life, it was no longer mine alone. Days passed and the outside world intruded slowly. My heat had subsided, but my body felt different, unfamiliar. Every movement, every pulse reminded me of what had begun the night before. And Rice, quiet, watchful, protective, was there every step, making sure I could not venture into the city until I was stable. The attraction remained, simmering beneath the surface. I felt it in his scent, the way he moved around me, the subtle touches that weren't necessary but instinctive. He was mine as much as I was his, bound by biology and need, and it terrified me. I had no answers, only the knowledge that I had survived something impossible, and that my life, my very existence, had changed in ways I could not yet understand. And still, I could not help but watch him, feel the pull between us, and wonder how the world, and I, would survive the days to come. I had never felt so confined in my life. My apartment had always been small, but it had felt like mine, safe in its familiarity. Reese's home was larger, cleaner, unfamiliar, and for the first time, I didn't feel entirely in control. I wanted to leave, to deliver packages, to blend into the city as if nothing had changed, but my body refused. My heat had subsided, but only barely. My pheromones still pulsed beneath my skin, subtle but insistent. Every breath I took reminded me that I was no longer just a beta courier. I was something else entirely, and the realization gnawed at me with cold claws. Reese had made a small room for me, insisting I stay put until I regained control over my body. I had resisted at first. I was independent, capable. I didn't need anyone to watch over me. But after the first attempt to stand on my own ended with me nearly collapsing into a wall, I surrendered. He didn't treat me like a patient. He treated me like I was fragile, but capable, guiding me with careful hands when necessary, giving me space when I needed it. He brought food, helped me bathe, ensured I slept, and kept track of my physical changes with an intensity that unnerved me. It was invasive in a way that made my stomach tighten, but I also knew it was necessary. "Eat," he said one morning, placing a plate of food beside me. His tone brooked no argument, firm and insistent. I took it reluctantly. My body wasn't used to being cared for in this way. I was used to carrying burdens alone, not having someone anticipate my needs before I even spoke. Yet there was something in the steadiness of his gaze that made it impossible to resist. Rice had been busy in the background as well. He wasn't one to act blindly, and the intensity with which he guarded me was only half of what he did. He had begun running a full background check on me. At first, I didn't realize it, but the day he brought the folder to the table with my full medical and personal history neatly compiled, my stomach dropped. "You need to see this," he said, his voice low, measured, the kind of tone that brooked no interruption. "Everything about you, Lior. Everything the government has tried to hide." I hesitated, but the curiosity and fear gnawed at me, and I let him open the folder. Birth records, medical scans from infancy, notes from doctors, nurses, and government officials, all indicating I had been an Omega. Not just that, but my gland had been forcibly suppressed as an infant, my scent system sealed, and my identity altered to register me as a beta. My parents, gone under suspicious circumstances, the doctor who had delivered me vanished 2 days after my birth. Rice didn't comment at first, only let me read. I could feel the weight of every secret pressing against my chest. "Someone saved you," he said finally, almost to himself. "Someone went to great lengths to make sure the government didn't find you. They hid you, altered your identity, protected you." I swallowed hard. The puzzle pieces of my life, the gaps, the strange lack of Omega traits I had lived with, suddenly made horrifying sense, and Rice's gaze never left me. There was awe there, concern, and something else I didn't understand. He closed the folder gently. He said, "They did more than hide you. They bought you time, Lior. But that time is over. Your body is breaking free from their suppression, and the government will notice soon. You're unique. Null Omega, a type they thought was extinct." The knowledge pressed down on me like a weight I could not lift. I'd always thought I was normal. I had always believed I understood my world. But now, every memory, every assumption, every small feeling of difference, it all aligned. I was something forbidden, something dangerous, and the attraction I felt to Rise, the way my body responded to him, it was no longer just physical, it was biological. Days passed. Slowly my body began to shift. Small things at first, nausea that came and went, a tenderness in my stomach, a subtle ache that wasn't there before. At first I tried to ignore it, blaming the stress, the heat, the adrenaline from the plaza incident, but the signs became impossible to dismiss. I was pregnant. The knowledge hit me like a fist, Not a thought, not a fleeting worry, a fact that pressed down on me with undeniable weight. I could feel it in the rhythm of my heartbeat, in the ache in my abdomen, in the way my body demanded rest. And the terrifying truth? I had no choice. I couldn't undo it. This was happening. I tried to hide it from Rise, tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy, to act as though nothing had changed, but he noticed. He always noticed. "You're not hiding anything," he said one evening, his voice low, laced with something I couldn't name. I looked away, too ashamed, too stunned, too afraid to speak. I don't know what's happening to me," I admitted finally, my voice trembling. He stepped closer, his presence enveloping me, solid and unwavering. "You're pregnant," he said simply. No judgment, no shock, just fact. It was as if stating it aloud made it less terrifying. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. I didn't even know it was possible. I'm not supposed to be... None of this is supposed to happen, he interrupted gently. But it did, and we deal with it, together. Everything that followed, the daily caretaking, the heat surges, the gradual bond forming between us, continued as I had described. The background check revelation fit seamlessly into the ongoing tension. The realization that my past had been hidden, that I had been engineered into survival, and that Rice had discovered the truth, it only made the stakes higher, the government threat more immediate, and the attraction between us more primal and urgent. The days grew heavier. My body felt like it was being rewritten from the inside out, every pulse, every ache, every surge of pheromones reminding me that I was no longer the person I had been. I had expected some change, but this was exponential. My stomach curved before I even realized it. My exhaustion deepened beyond simple fatigue. And the heat, it came in waves that left me trembling, writhing, helpless against the pole. Reese never left my side. Even when I insisted I could manage, he refused. He brought me meals I couldn't stomach at first, but later craved, tucked blankets around me when shivers racked my frame, and simply watched, always alert. His presence had become a constant force, as necessary to my survival as the air in my lungs. I could see it in the way he moved around me, careful, precise, protective. Even his hands, when they brushed against me accidentally, sent sparks through me. Sparks I couldn't control, no matter how much I tried. And yet he never pushed too far, never pressed me beyond my limits. He was patient in a way that was almost unnatural for an alpha like him. Even for someone like Reese, trained and hardened by years of command and discipline. But the world outside was catching up. Reports of an unregistered null omega, rumors spreading like wildfire, officials asking questions and surveillance drones skimming the skies above the city. My pulse jumped every time I heard a knock, every time someone's shadow passed under the blinds. And I wasn't the only one who felt it. Reese's tension was palpable. His muscles coiled even when he smiled or tried to act casual. "Lior," he said one evening, his voice low, carrying the weight of unspoken fears, "we can't stay here much longer. They'll find us if we linger." By the time we reached the safe house, I was trembling, drenched in sweat, and utterly drained. Rice guided me inside, closing the door behind us with a soft click that somehow sounded final, protective. He didn't speak, didn't need to. His hands were on my shoulders, steadying me, grounding me, reminding me that I was not alone. The safe house was modest, hidden deep in the outskirts, surrounded by trees and the low hum of distant wildlife. It wasn't luxurious, but it was quiet, secure, and, most importantly, unknown to the government. Rice set me down on the small bed, brushing hair from my forehead with a tenderness that made my stomach twist in ways I didn't expect. "You're safe here," he said, voice low, carrying a promise I wasn't sure I believed. "I'll make sure of it. No one's taking you from me." I wanted to respond, wanted to say something that would reassure him that I was not helpless, that I could still fight. But the exhaustion, the pregnancy, and the constant pull of attraction rendered me mute. I simply let him hold me for a moment. And in that small, silent gesture, a fragile trust began to root. The following days were a blur of monitoring, care, and constant vigilance. My pregnancy progressed faster than any normal omegas would, and I could feel the unique energy of the null omega inside me. The child grew rapidly, stronger with each day, and I began to notice changes in myself I couldn't fully comprehend. My scent was more pronounced, my heat more volatile, my body reacting in ways that both frightened and thrilled me. Rice noticed it too. His usually unwavering composure faltered when my scent surged unexpectedly. He moved closer, instinctively, every time I trembled or moaned softly in discomfort. His eyes darkened, his jaw tightened, and I could see the alpha instincts I had only glimpsed in passing now fully awaken. It was unnerving, yet undeniably compelling. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the shadows stretched long across the room, I realized just how fast things were moving. My body had begun to swell more visibly, the movements of the child unmistakable now, and the need for Rice's presence grew alongside it. Every time I caught sight of him, my stomach twisted, my heat flared, and I realized I needed him in ways that had nothing to do with convenience or comfort. He noticed too. The way he watched me, the subtle touches, the small gestures of care, all pointed to a connection that went beyond mere duty, yet neither of us spoke it aloud. Attraction, yes. Bonding, yes. Love, not yet. That was for later, something that could only develop once the dust settled and the chaos of our reality calmed enough for emotions to fully take root. But the outside world refused to calm. The government had located our trail. Drones hovered closer. Agents in the streets asked questions, and every news alert seemed to hint at our whereabouts. The safe house, as secure as it felt, was no longer a permanent solution. Rice knew it. I knew it. And the child growing inside me would not survive if we hesitated. One night, after a particularly violent surge of heat, Rice made a decision. He was going rogue. Betraying the bureau he had dedicated his life to was not a decision he made lightly, but the thought of me in their hands, of the child being used as a weapon, left no room for hesitation. "We move tomorrow," he said quietly, his eyes scanning my face for my reaction. "We leave before sunrise. No one follows us. No one touches you or the baby. I'll make sure of it." I nodded, too exhausted to protest, and yet a part of me quivered at the thought. The child inside me shifted, almost in response, and I felt a surge of connection that made my heart pound in ways that were terrifyingly intimate. The escape was meticulous. Every step, every alley, every turn planned with precision. We moved under darkness, slipping past checkpoints, using old routes known only to Rise and a few trusted allies. My body, though heavy with rapid pregnancy, managed the journey only because he supported me at every step, his hands firm, guiding, steadying, a constant presence against the chaos of the world. But the government wasn't idle. Agents converged, a net closing faster than we anticipated. And then it happened. The safe house we were moving toward was compromised. I felt it before I saw it. The tension, the sense, the energy of predator is on the hunt. Rice reacted instantly. He pulled me into a hidden room, securing the entrance with locks and barriers only he could manipulate. "Stay down," he ordered, voice low and commanding. "No matter what, don't move." The raid came swiftly. Men with weapons, scanners, and a chilling determination to seize me and the child descended upon the house. My heart raced, my body trembled, and the heat surged uncontrollably. The child shifted violently within me, responding to the danger, and I knew we had no choice but to fight.
Rice's hands were on me, grounding me, his scent overwhelming but protective. "I've got you," he whispered. "No one will touch you. Not now, not ever." The battle was brief but intense. Rice, with the help of a few trusted allies, neutralized the immediate threat. But the strain on my body was enormous. My heat surged again, stronger, more insistent, and then it began. Labor. I collapsed into his arms, moaning, trembling, my body racked with pain. Rice held me, guiding, supporting, whispering words I couldn't comprehend but needed to hear. The room blurred, the pain peaked, and I felt the child move with a strength that was terrifying and miraculous all at once. Hours passed in a haze. Pain, exhaustion, fear, and relief intermingled. And then, at last, the cries. Our child. A small, perfect boy with a faint scent, active glands, and a trace of null omega energy coursing through him. Rice held him first, eyes wide with disbelief and awe. "He's perfect," he whispered, voice thick. "Both of you perfect." I reached out, my hands trembling, and took him from Rice, holding him against my chest. The bond was immediate, primal, unbreakable. And Rice leaned down, kissing my forehead, whispering a promise I would carry forever.
"Our child won't hide," I whispered. "He'll grow up free." Rise smiled, his hands settling over mine, over the baby, over everything we had survived. "So will you," he replied. The world outside was still dangerous. The government would lie, claim the null omega line had ended, and try to erase our existence. But in that moment, in the small sanctuary we had fought to protect, we were free. We were a family. And for the first time since my life had shattered in the plaza, I believed it. We survived. We were together, and the child we brought into the world was safe. If you enjoyed the story, please comment, like, and subscribe so you'll get notified when part 2 comes out.